Good evening. It's election eve. Candidates in New York, New Jersey, and around our area getting ready to sweat it out as voters decide their fate.
Here in New York City, it's going to be perhaps the closest mayoral election in 3 decades. The campaign has been tough. At times, it's been bitter. With the polls opening in less than 8 hours now, David Dinkins and Rudolph Giuliani have been getting in their last licks before the political rhetoric will finally come to an end and the voters will render their verdict. We begin our team coverage of Election Eve tonight with Mary Murphy and Marvin Scott, who have been with Dinkins and Giuliani all day today. They're standing by live now at City Hall. Marvin, Mary?
The grand prize right behind us, City Hall. Mayor David Dinkins says he wants to occupy this place for another 4 years as the city's 106th mayor.
And of course, Rudolph Giuliani would like to be giving the press conferences in the Blue Room come January as the 107th mayor of New York City. Of course, the polls, though, you don't know which way it's going.
Uncertain.
5 to 10% undecided.
At this late hour, many still uncertain how they're going to vote tomorrow. A few hours ago, Mayor Dinkins told me that his spirits are high and he remains cautiously optimistic. And throughout this final day of his campaign, he was still taking jabs at his challenger, but the thrust of his message was simply to turn out the vote.
November 2nd, David A. Dinkins for mayor. Let's get out the vote. Get out the vote! Get out the vote! Get out the vote!
With the opinion polls showing this to be the closest election in 30 years, Mayor Dinkins pressed his campaign into friendly territory in Brooklyn, making sure supporters there show their support where it counts, at the polls.
If our people turn out, liberal and progressive people of every race and ethnicity, if they will come out and support me on tomorrow, we will prevail.
Freedom. The feeling was that of a revival rally at the New Jerusalem Church of the Nazarene. 2 busloads of Freedom Riders from throughout the South, wearing yellow NAACP slickers, arriving in time to help the city's first black mayor in his re-election bid. At stop after stop, the mayor hammering away at the same theme, describing New York as a gorgeous mosaic of ethnic groups, a tough town that doesn't need a mean mayor. And on the eve of that crucial vote, how does he feel?
I remain cautiously optimistic. A lot will depend, of course, on how big the turnout is and who turns out.
4 more years.
Why?
He needs 4 more years to continue on the program.
He started a job, he has to finish it.
He took a bankrupt city and make it into something else.
Next stop, City Hall, and a couple of key endorsements from 2 Democrats who haven't defected the Dinkins camp. Chairman of the Municipal Assistance Corporation, Felix Rohatyn, and former Governor Hugh Carey.
He's a sensitive man who leads with common sense. That's what this city needs. It's no time for one who's untried.
Dave Dinkins, 4 more years.
Tonight, it was Dinkins supporters who were being electrified at a get-out-the-vote rally at the Sheraton Hotel, where the mayor was bolstered by running mates Mark Green and Alan Hevesy.
They are real Democrats. Yes, they are real Democrats. There are a couple of folks running for the same positions, you know. They run on that confusion ticket.
Outside, the mayor voiced concern about possible voter fraud and had this stern warning.
Anybody who votes more than once is committing a crime, and I will see that they get prosecuted.
All the hard work, the rhetoric, the mudslinging, all coming to an end a little over an hour ago when the mayor made the final stop of his campaign, greeting supporters at his downtown field office on Greenwich Street, thanking them for all their support and telling them to get out the vote in the morning. Dinkins campaign insiders tell me the turnout tomorrow is critical. If it's a massive turnout, they expect their candidate will be victorious. Of the 10% the polls indicate are still undecided, about 4% are not expected to make their final decision until the very moment they get into that voting booth. And when you get right down to it, Mary, I've been hearing a lot from people saying today that it's not a matter of issues, but it's a perception, and it's how the voters are going to perceive the 2 candidates, basically which of the 2 they trust more.
And I know that Rudy Giuliani has been trying to soften his image since his last campaign, but he's still vowing to be tough on crime, tougher, he says, than Mayor Dinkins. He was crisscrossing New York City since 7:30 this morning, trying to seek the undecided vote and also bolstering his supporters. He had 17 events on his schedule today, and tonight the former federal prosecutor is hitting all 5 boroughs for what else? Get out the vote rallies.
A
flamboyant Rudy Giuliani was toasted by Hispanic, Italian, and Irish-American voters tonight at Gino's in the North Bronx as Roman candles lit up the sky outside.
I need you now to work hard for one more day.
Earlier tonight, Giuliani's endorsement from WADO Radio, which calls itself the #1 Latino station in New York, hammered home how important the Hispanic vote could be to Giuliani.
I believe that New York City can have a better future than its present.
Yo creo que la ciudad de Nueva York puede tener un mejor futuro que su presente.
Say good morning to our next mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani's closing rush for votes started during Monday morning rush hour as he shook the hands of bleary-eyed yuppies at an East Side subway station, his daughter Caroline munching on a donut. His convoy then headed to 7 senior citizen centers in a row, several of them in the Jewish enclave of Brighton Beach, where elderly voters gathered to hear not only him, but also his TV anchor wife, Donna.
She's my partner, and she has been enormously helpful in this campaign. I mean, she's really worked very, very hard.
Very sweet girl.
Very pretty, right?
I'll vote for you.
Giuliani then knocked the mayor for suggesting that he would cut services to seniors.
I want you to know, despite the distortions of our opponent, that we support senior citizen centers. We'll continue to support senior citizens.
Although Rudy Giuliani always stresses that he doesn't believe in the polls do show that elderly Jewish voters, especially women, are among the undecided. That's why this swing through Brooklyn is so important to him.
Now that I met them, I'm convinced that I'm voting for them, and I'm going to tell everybody I meet.
But not everyone is willing to commit.
I want to know what he intends to do about the homeless.
Are you still undecided?
Yes.
You could go either way?
Yes.
Guardian angel Curtis Sliwa helped invoke the name of the late 3-term mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, who inspired Giuliani's fusion ticket. And Giuliani carried his message for reinventing government to yet another center in Maspeth, Queens. The candidate goes to the polls tomorrow knowing the stories have circulated about possible voter fraud, and he addressed that.
It should be an election in which there's scrutiny of it, so we make certain that people that vote are people that are entitled to vote. They're citizens. They're alive. We don't need any dead people voting. And we don't have any questions at the end of it. It's a very important election. I think it's going to define the future.
Giuliani should be on his way to Staten Island right now, where he received 80% of the vote in the last election. That borough, you probably know, is threatening to secede from New York City, but Giuliani is calling for a fresh start. He's expected to vote at 7:15 tomorrow morning on the Upper East Side near his home. Will he become the 107th mayor of New York City, or will Mayor Dinkins keep the prize? Marvin and I will be covering the election night for you tomorrow.
You'll be at Giuliani headquarters.
That's right.
At Dinkins headquarters, and the rest of our team will be throughout the metropolitan area with
live coverage.
And it's a squeaker.
I know.
I've covered many campaigns in New York, and I don't ever remember one this
It's like
close.
you don't even have a gut reaction. Some people think they can predict it, but I know that I don't feel I have a gut reaction.
Leave it to the pollsters. We'll find out how right they are tomorrow night.
Okay, back to you, Kaity.
Yes, we will. Okay, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Marvin. And here are the hours when you can vote tomorrow in the tri-state area. Throughout New York State, you can vote from 6 in the morning until 9 at night. In New Jersey, the polls open at 7 a.m. and stay open until 8 p.m. And in Connecticut, you can vote from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And we do urge you to exercise your right and get out and vote. Jack?
Well, from shock jocks to seniors, New Jersey's candidates for governor ran the gamut today, looking for those crucial last-minute votes that may well determine whether it's Florio or Whitman. Stephanie Shelton has that one.
I'm very confident of a victory tomorrow.
Confidence-based, her people tell anyone who asks, on their weekend polls, giving Whitman a 3-point lead. But with most independent polls still finding Florio 9 to 10 points ahead, Whitman is talking to everyone and anyone, including shock jock Howard Stern this morning, telling him how she once tried pot and promptly threw up. The Florio people promptly threw it to reporters, who promptly asked, why?
Well, he spent a lot of time on Imus, and I'm not sure I'd say Imus is all that better, except Howard Stern's #1 in the ratings, and Imus is #2, which is about where the election's he's going to end up in the election.
But Whitman didn't talk about Stern to Ocean County's senior citizens, some of whom still don't know her name.
We can do it in a way that doesn't jeopardize the homestead rebate, because I wouldn't do that.
With only a few precious hours of campaigning left, Whitman spent most of her day in sparsely populated Ocean County, busing from one small group to another.
Do me a favor, make 2 phone calls each.
Florio appealed to seniors also, but up in populous Fort Lee. A quick exhortation to get out the vote, sandwiched between large rallies throughout the state. Late polls show from 13 to 22% of voters still undecided, some of whom had earlier been counted in Florio's column.
For the 4th time, Lucinda and I are working very, very hard, going around to try to encourage people to vote.
His wife, he says, is his good luck charm. Lucinda Florio is with him constantly now, perhaps because Florio's once overwhelming support from women, a key voting bloc this year, has slipped a little. On the stump, both candidates are trying to leave voters with positive messages. But in the final commercials, more voters will see the negatives remain.
Editorials say Whitman has shown neither the credibility nor the depth required of a governor.
Jim Florio, we can't afford 4 more years.
Although few seem to be paying attention to anything other than the governor's race, there is more on the ballot in New Jersey. All 120 legislative seats are up, with Democrats predicting Republicans will at least lose the veto-proof margin they have in both houses now. And if voters are dissatisfied with their choices this year, they can vote for the only statewide referendum, which would allow them to recall any elected official after a year. New Jersey is known for late decisions in elections. Still, this is very late. And the large number of undecideds makes this an extremely volatile situation. The Star-Ledger Eagleton poll is predicting a turnout of just 56%, and there are 17 independent candidates on the ballot. Even so, the Star-Ledger is going out on a ledge and predicting Florio by 8 points. In Fort Lee, Stephanie Shelton, Channel 11 News at 10.
And a bit later in the broadcast, Barry Cunningham will be along with a special report on the mood of the electorate this election year. Kaity?
The rap music industry rocked once again tonight with scandal. One of its biggest stars charged with attempted murder, the other shooting 2 police officers. Glenn Thompson now with a spin on this latest violence hitting close to home in the rap industry.
A bad rap for Flavor Flav. The controversial rapper, whose real name is William Drayton, is the star of the group Public Enemy. He was arrested after he was accused of trying to gun down his neighbor outside their Bronx apartment building this morning. That after an argument over a woman. Drayton's neighbor heard a commotion outside his apartment on the 23rd floor of the building, where police say the rapper fled after the shooting.
I just heard commotion. My wife kept saying there's something going on outside. She thought he was moving. Really?
Police recovered a loaded, unlicensed .380 caliber semi-automatic pistol in a bedroom of the apartment, which they found littered with trash and empty wine bottles. Drayton is no stranger to run-ins with the law. The rapper was arrested in 1991 for punching his girlfriend, and he was arrested last year on 2 outstanding warrants, one for assault, another a traffic violation. Today, his lawyer had little to say about this latest arrest.
What do you think about him being arrested again?
Well, right now, all I'm going to do is find out the reason that he's in custody at this point.
What does he say?
Right now, I have to rely upon what the authorities say, and that's the district attorney.
While Drayton was busy making himself a public enemy today, another rapper, Tupac Shakur, also found himself involved in a run-in with the law. The 22-year-old rapper, star of the movie Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson, was taken into custody after he allegedly shot 2 off-duty police officers in Atlanta during a traffic dispute. Shakur, known for his anti-police lyrics on some of his albums, is also known for his hard life growing up in the streets of the Bronx and Baltimore. His father died when he was 12. His mother, a Black Panther, was jailed on bomb conspiracy charges while she was pregnant with him. She was later acquitted. Today, Shakur was released on $55,000 bond.
Everybody got misconstrued. It was a late night, everybody was out partying, and everybody trying to have fun, you know. That's how it always is on a Saturday night.
The 2 incidents involving the 2 famous rap stars follows the arrest 2 months ago of rapper Snoop Doggy Dogg, whose real name is Calvin Brodus. He was charged in connection with the gang shooting in Los Angeles in September.
Hit me! Critics say rap lyrics are spawning an entire culture of youth violence as evidence in these arrests. But others say don't blame the industry, blame the individual problems of some rap stars.
Maybe they did have guns, or maybe they did all of those things, but to make the music synonymous with the action when it's violent isn't fair.
Whatever the truth, bum rap or bad rap, the violence heard in some rap lyrics appears to be catching up with its stars. I'm Glenn Thompson, Channel 11, News at 10.
We have a lot more to tell you about on the News at 10 tonight. Debate broke out on the floor of the United States Senate today over private diaries of Oregon Senator Bob Packwood.
Preliminary autopsy results are in the shocking weekend death of young actor River Phoenix. We'll have the latest from Hollywood, where he died.
we'll show you a truly stylish and original farewell being organized for Italian film director Federico Fellini, who died over the weekend.
And Mr. G, excuse me. One weekend I've forgotten your name. Mr. G in the Weather Center, not Mr. B. What am I saying?
Mr. D.
I'm glad I'm such an important part of your life. But we're going to have a good day tomorrow. Great for Election Day 1993. 5-day forecast, all that. After this.
It's are you, Butch?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes good men break the law. Sometimes lawmen break the rules. A Perfect World, directed by Clint Eastwood. Starts November 24th everywhere.
Sex, privacy, and allegations of possible criminal conduct are at the heart of a debate that is setting a precedent on the Senate floor. It's over Oregon Senator Bob Packwood's very personal diaries and whether to enforce a subpoena for them. Washington correspondent Mark Mooney has more on the battle over Packwood's so-called sex diaries.
The nation's business came to a grinding halt in the Senate over one man's private diaries. The ethics case of Oregon Senator Bob Packwood was supposed to be about sex harassment charges brought against him by more than 24 women. But it widened when his colleagues found other possible illegalities in diaries Packwood himself turned over for his own defense.
The chairman has branded me all over this country as a criminal.
Though he still wouldn't specify charges, Richard Bryan, the Ethics Committee chairman, said in reading portions of Packwood's diaries, the committee, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, found reason to subpoena the diaries in their entirety, all 8,000 pages.
But clearly, the Ethics Committee cannot turn a blind eye when it finds information that may indeed raise the possibility of other violations beyond the scope of its original inquiry.
Packwood's defense raised questions once again about whether the Senate could effectively investigate the unethical or illegal conduct of one of its own members. But for the American Civil Liberties Union, it was more about privacy rights and constitutional safeguards against self-incrimination.
I think all Americans have something at stake here. They need to know whether or not diaries can be used against them.
Jittery about full public disclosure of the diaries, one of the women who alleges Packwood sexually harassed her has sued to stop the Ethics Committee subpoena. But another woman who says the Oregon senator molested her wants the diaries released and justice served.
I think it's a bigger issue. It's not just one person, it's the whole system. There is nowhere for a woman to go.
The unprecedented debate over how far the Senate could reach into the personal papers of one of its members was bound to make everybody uncomfortable. But to come up with less than all the diaries at this point, said one Republican on the Ethics Committee, would be disaster for the Senate.
Even if nothing else in the diary of a non-relevant nature is an ethical or criminal violation, even if it isn't, the appearance will be that it is. That's going to be the appearance. And both Senator Packwood and the committee are covering it up.
Despite the weighty matter before them, senators decided to end debate for the night, prompting one cynical Capitol insider to say it meant only one thing: the Redskins are on Monday Night Football. In Washington, Mark Mooney, Channel 11, News at 10.
Well, there were other activities in Washington today. Hearings on violence were held on the Hill. Surgeon General Joycelyn Elders told a House subcommittee violence added $13.5 billion to the nation's medical bill last year. Elders added more deaths are caused by violence than by AIDS and drunk driving combined. There was testimony from victims, too. The widow of slain Brooklyn principal Patrick Daly, gunned down while searching for a student, and from a Brooklyn high school student who had been shot.
I will never forget the children and the adults who came to the funeral home. The faces of the children were filled with pain for the man who had given them hope. Who will help them now?
It is up to you, the United States Congress, to tell gun manufacturers they must be responsible to pay for the toll their products are taking on our neighborhoods and our nations. If you want to save the future generations of this country, you got to take the guns off the street.
Well, that young man, Ralph Green, has had 14 operations at a cost of more than $1 million. Kaity?
The death of actor River Phoenix remains a mystery tonight as officials reveal autopsy results so far are inconclusive. As Gloria Hillary reports now, the young actor lay dying as his brother made a frantic call for help.
The call to the 911 dispatcher was chilling. More than a call for help, it was a brother's horror.
Sir, calm down a little bit, okay?
I'm sorry, it's my brother. Please come here.
I understand, okay? Calm down.
On the corner of Sunset and Larrabee. You can't miss it.
Okay, this your brother's having a seizure? Yes. How old is he?
The 23-year-old actor had collapsed outside this West Hollywood nightclub at approximately 1 a.m. Sunday. His brother Leaf and sister Rain were with him.
You must get over here, please. You must get over here, please. Okay, take it easy, okay? Okay, no, I think he had Valium or something. I don't know. You must get over here, please. Yeah, slow down, okay? Please, because he's dying, please.
The young actor was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Hospital and pronounced dead a short time later. Law enforcement is not speculating whether drugs were involved, but said his companions had reported
he was acting strange. That was the terminology that they used.
Those who knew the actor say drugs were out of character for Phoenix, who was a vegetarian and activist for animal and environmental concerns. The club where Phoenix had spent his last few hours is owned by his friend, actor Johnny Depp, who temporarily closed the popular night spot. Flowers and candles are being left by fans and friends. Phoenix was filming the movie Dark Blood at the time of his death and was scheduled to begin production this month on An Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise. He started acting when he was 7, but it was the coming-of-age film Stand By Me that put the 16-year-old in the spotlight. 2 years later, he was nominated for an Oscar in Running on Empty. It was a film that loosely paralleled his life, about a sensitive boy who lived with a family on the run. But unlike his character in the film, the actor said he loved to travel and credited his parents for encouraging him to be himself.
All the kids, we're all, real extreme individuals and very much, we're our own people.
They named him after the River of Life in Hermann Hesse's novel Siddhartha. Today, they shared their loss in this statement. Our heartfelt thanks goes out to all of you who have been a friend and support to our darling son, brother, grandson, and lover, River, who lives in all of our lives. His beauty, gentleness, compassion, vulnerability, and love is a gift for all eternity. Gloria Hillard, Los Angeles.
Italians are saying farewell to film director Federico Fellini tonight, using the films that he left behind. Family and friends are holding an all-night wake for the Oscar-winning director at his favorite movie studio in Rome. Workers set the stage today where one of the films will play in the background. Fellini, who created Academy Award-winning films like La Strada and La Dolce Vita, died yesterday at the age of 73 after being in a coma for 2 weeks. His funeral will be broadcast live on Italian state television on Wednesday.
Still ahead tonight, on the Health Watch, researchers say an item found in many gardens could prove valuable in the fight against alcoholism.
A game of Russian roulette ends tragically for a Bronx boy while his little brother looks on in horror.
And the case drew international attention. Today, the trial opened for the two 11-year-old boys accused of killing a 2-year-old boy they abducted from a shopping mall. Coming up.
Next time on Cheers, it's the perfect wedding for the perfect couple, thanks to their pals from the bar. Rebecca's covering the hors d'oeuvres.
You beat the head off my groom.
Sammy's handling the guests.
Are you part of the groom's family?
Actually, I'm the best man.
I'd enjoy being the judge of that.
And Cliffy's capturing it all on film.
Hey, cheese.
What could possibly go wrong?
The minister is dead.
On the next Cheers.
Tonight at 11, followed by Murphy Brown on Channel 11.
Every day should start with Quaker Oats.
Nothing cold can steam you up and help keep you rolling all morning like hot Quaker oatmeal.
Every day should feel this good.
Opening a new store really excites me. I love seeing people's reaction when they shop one of our beautiful new Kmart stores. When they see top quality and brand names in every department. When they try on our exciting new fashion. And most importantly, when they get that low, low Kmart price anytime and every time they shop our store. I've been telling people Kmart's changing for some time now. But a grand opening, well, it sort of does my talking for me.
Have you seen all the press Ford's been getting?
A suspect is surrendered in connection with the weekend shootings of 2 police officers in Mount Vernon. 20-year-old Daniel James turned himself in last night with his probation officer at his side. James is charged with allegedly shooting the officers Saturday night when they tried to question him about another assault. 25-year-old Leary Johnston was shot in the head and remains in critical condition at Montefiore Hospital. The other officer, 28-year-old Leroy Palmer, is in stable condition.
A boy in the Bronx played a deadly game that cost him his life. 14-year-old Raymond Diaz put his father's unlicensed gun to his head in a game of Russian roulette, and the gun went off. Rosemary Gomez has the story.
Eso fue un juego que se puso a jugar con la pistola, como lo han hecho otros niños.
It was a game. He started playing with a gun like other children, but it cost him his life, says the grandmother of 14-year-old Raymond Diaz. The Bronx teenager killed himself yesterday playing Russian roulette with his stepfather's unlicensed handgun, while the younger stepbrother and 3 friends watched.
Me habían dicho que anteriormente él lo había practicado hasta fuera de la casa.
They've told me he practiced outside the house, says the teenager's grandmother, of the deadly game her grandson may have learned since moving to this tenement on Wayne Avenue as a way of gaining acceptance.
He was a cool kid to hang out with, that's it. It was nice.
I heard of the game before.
Why do you think a kid would want to play it?
I don't know, maybe he was drunk or something. Because to put a gun to your head is kind of like crazy.
After the Bronx teenager pulled the trigger, his 11-year-old stepbrother ran from the family's apartment around the corner to this pizza place looking for help. But by then, it was already too late.
Please take it. No, get away.
The store workers had nothing to say about the teenager, who police say took his stepfather's unlicensed .357 Magnum from a hall closet before loading a bullet and pointing the handgun to his head. The gun had apparently been stolen from Washington, D.C. in 1987, and police have charged the teenager's stepfather with criminal possession and endangering the welfare of a minor. What do you think about kids who would play this kind of game?
What do you think about kids that have guns? That get a hold of a gun.
Neighbors say the teenager's mother had been injured in an auto accident but tried to keep her family together. Her son reportedly told a friend at PS 152 he always played roulette with an empty gun. That is, until yesterday. In the Bronx, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
The United States Supreme Court has refused to let Colorado enforce its anti-gay amendment, putting it on hold while the state courts judge its legality. That amendment, passed by the state's voters in November of 1992, bars any law or ordinance aimed at protecting homosexuals from discrimination. If approved, the amendment would cancel ordinances in Denver, Boulder, and Aspen, which currently outlaw discrimination against homosexuals in employment, housing, and public accommodation. Kaity?
It was a crime that stunned the world. 2 10-year-old boys in London charged with luring a toddler from a crowded shopping mall, then beating him to death. Today, that case went to trial. The 2 boys, now 11, arrived amid extremely tight security. Under British law, they cannot be identified in any way. One of the young defendants sobbed and whispered, "Daddy, Daddy," as the prosecutor described the final hours of 2-year-old James Bolgar, who was battered by bricks and stones on a railroad track last February. A surveillance tape showing the blonde toddler leaving the Liverpool Mall hand in hand with an older boy captured international attention. The 2 children are the youngest in Britain ever to be charged with murder, and both have pleaded innocent.
When the News at 10 continues, polls are set to open in just a few hours now. We'll take a look at the mood of the voters as they prepare to elect the mayor of New York City.
And it's been 10 years. Now Frank Sinatra is back with a new album. It's a series of duets with some very famous partners. That story when we come back.
You know I'm gonna make it anywhere.
Sports car has finally grown up. Introducing the Volvo 850 Sports Wagon.
No fuss and fanfare. No balloons or flashing lights. Just serious furniture savings when you...
During Siemens Election Day sale, you choose how you save. Today and tomorrow, take advantage with savings in every department with 10% off every item throughout the store. Plus, get no down payment, no payments, and no finance charges until February '94. Or take an extra bonus 5% off your entire purchase. Hurry in today and tomorrow and choose how you save at Siemens Election Day sale. Anything less is just hot air. Siemens first.
As this is said to be the decade families will be hunting.
Take another look at our top story, Election 93, with New York's mayoral race too close to call. David Dinkins was out trying to energize his supporters and get out the vote rallies in Brooklyn and Manhattan. He also received some last-minute endorsements from investment banker Felix Rohatyn and former Governor Hugh Carey. Meanwhile, challenger Rudy Giuliani had guardian angel Curtis Sliwa and others helping him as he campaigned furiously around the city. He was greeted with fireworks at a rally in the Bronx and also pressed the flesh in an Upper East Side subway station and at senior citizen centers in Brooklyn and in Queens. And both New Jersey Governor Florio and challenger Christy Whitman talked to seniors on this final day of their gubernatorial horse race. Most polls show Florio leading by 8 to 10 points, but those late surveys show up to 22% still undecided.
With the latest polls in the mayoral race showing a dead heat between David Dinkins and Rudolph Giuliani, the election is likely to turn on a couple of things: the voter turnout and how those who are undecided finally decide. Barry Cunningham looks at the election eve numbers.
The last voting booths were being moved into position at 5,200 election districts, where by 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, mayor's race and a full ballot of other political jobs will be decided. As New Yorkers prepare to go to the polls tomorrow, a New York One News poll shows Mayor David Dinkins with a razor-thin edge, leading his Republican rival Rudolph Giuliani by a 48 to 45% margin. The statistical margin of error makes the election too close to call. Are you one of these undecided voters? Who are you leaning toward?
I'm right in the middle.
Undecided voters, making up as much as 12% of the electorate, will decide the city's political future.
And my husband says he's not going to know until he goes into the poll booth.
And how about you?
I think I have to know before. But it's agony.
And the undecideds are not that much of a mystery. We know who they are. Undecideds are largely white liberal voters who were with Dinkins, were in the Dinkins column, and then in the last couple weeks moved the Dinkins column into the undecided column.
But is anyone breaking away from Giuliani and leaning toward Dinkins?
Those voters are virtually non-existent. American elections have always been, and have recently become even more so, a referendum on the incumbent. We are in the middle of a throw-the-bums-out phase of American political history.
The best news for Dinkins is that he's captured the Hispanic swing vote. The News One poll showing Latinos are now backing the mayor 60 to 37%. Blacks are nearly unanimous in support for Mayor Dinkins, 97 to 1%. And the push is on to get out the vote in Harlem and other black communities.
When you're back against the wall, you have to come out.
The mayor's campaign director, Bill Lynch, is a past master at getting out the black vote. It's how the mayor got into City Hall originally. Analysts say that if the mayor can turn out more than 28% of the black vote this time, he'll be reelected. In Harlem, Barry Cunningham, Channel 11, News at 10.
And on Long Island, the Democrats are hoping that a large undecided vote there will lead to an upset victory in Nassau County. Long Island correspondent Drew Scott has this report.
Could this be the election day that breaks the Republican Party dominance in Nassau County for the past quarter century? Ben Zwirn is hoping so.
A new fiscal conservatism to reduce the size of government, privatize where possible, provide all the services without hurting people, but also cut taxes, which is paramount to the future of this county.
Zwirn is running against incumbent Tom Galata and predicting an upset for the GOP machine. Also up for election are the district attorneys in Nassau and Suffolk counties. Additionally, there are 13 town council and supervisor races and the entire Suffolk County legislature. In Nassau, incumbent DA Dennis Dillon faces a challenge from newcomer Tim Calanita.
The district attorney has pushed his personal agenda for so long that he's really forgotten what his focus was and his public mandate, and that was to enforce the law as opposed to trying to change the law.
Experts say the races will be close, but the big factor is the 30% undecided vote. No one knows how that'll go until tomorrow night. From Long Island, Drew Scott, Channel 11 News at 10.
On Wall Street, another record-breaking day today. The Dow Jones Industrials hit a new record high on a gain of 12 points. Winners edge losers 10 to 9. Volume came in at 254 million shares.
A lot more ahead tonight. Damage estimates continue to soar as officials get a closer look at the devastation caused by last week's wildfires in California.
And from Paris and Milan straight to Bryant Park, we will take you to the fashion event dubbed 7th on 6th. Stay with us.
You're looking at the most powerful import pickup ever built. The new 4-liter V6 Mazda truck. What all the beautiful people are driving this year. Behind every new Mazda truck is an unsurpassed 50,000-mile, 3-year basic warranty. And behind that, who knows?
Opening a new store really excites me. I love seeing people's reaction when they shop one of our beautiful new Kmart stores. when they see top quality and brand names in every department, when they try on our exciting new fashion, and most importantly, when they get that low, low Kmart price anytime and every time they shop our store. I've been telling people Kmart's changing for some time now. But a grand opening, well, it sort of does my talking for me.
Nothing sends chills down your spine and straight to your wallet like the cost of healthcare today.
Your medical bill, ma'am.
Which is why we're introducing HMO Blue to calm your fears with the largest choice of doctors.
Oh, yeah?
And low co-payments.
Really?
New HMO Blue from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of New Jersey. A better way of caring.
When we asked some denture wearers why they don't use an adhesive, they didn't have a lot to say. Don't need it.
My dentures fit fine. No problems here.
But after we gave them Fix-A-Dent, they just couldn't say enough.
It's amazing, the difference.
It's a great new feeling of security.
Comfort.
Confidence.
I just plain forget I have them. That's because Fix-A-Dent adjusts to the unique contours of your dentures and gums, forming a thin, powerful seal for a better hold than you ever thought possible.
I could just kick myself for not doing this sooner.
Find out for yourself what it feels like to Fix-A-Dent and forget it.
As firefighters work to control the last of the wildfires in Southern California, officials are tallying up the damage. It's a horrible picture. A series of fires that raged across the state torched 171,000 acres, injured 62 people. The fires eventually claimed 815 buildings, nearly 700 of those family homes, and a preliminary estimate puts total damage at $500 million. Fire officials are predicting complete containment of the rest of the fires by tomorrow.
A new study shows extracts of the weed called kudzu has helped curb alcoholism in lab animals. Now Harvard researchers hope the experiment will work for humans, as Tom Watkins reports in tonight's Health Watch.
The Chinese are not known for being heavy drinkers. One reason, they tend to have low levels of the enzyme that breaks down alcohol, meaning they get sick in addition to getting drunk. Now, there may be another reason. It's called kudzu.
Kudzu has been used as an ingredient in herbal medicine in China for 2,000 years, and it's widely prescribed for a large number of things, including alcohol abuse.
Kudzu is a fast-growing plant that's considered a nuisance in much of the southern U.S. Western researchers have tended to dismiss stories about such Chinese remedies as snake blood to treat backaches and wild cat for flatulence as merely anecdotal. But now there's scientific rationale to support the use of kudzu for alcoholism. The Harvard researchers used a breed of hamster that, if given the choice between pure water and spiked water, will usually go for the harder stuff. But after injections of extract of kudzu root, the rodents voluntarily cut their alcohol consumption in half.
We are certainly excited, and we think this is provided a potential, say, lead to a new kind of medication that might be useful.
Once the animals stopped getting a daily dose of the extract, they went back to the alcohol. Already, the researchers have patented the extract, and a drug company has expressed interest. Trials on people could begin soon. One reason for caution. The authors identified several other ingredients that appeared to help the hamsters get on the wagon, but which have not proven useful in people.
When we get headlines like this, it kind of, people tend to look at it as a panacea, and I'm also afraid of how people interpret it as an easy way out for alcoholism.
The researchers say it could be years before they know whether kudzu is indeed an easy way to sobriety. Tom Watkins, Medical News.
Coming up next, Mr. G has the forecast for Election Day.
The shuttle is back on Earth after wrapping up the longest mission in NASA's history.
And Frank Sinatra's out with his first new album in 10 years, and he has some help. A lot of duets. We'll tell you who they are.
So big, so enormous, you won't know what hit you. And it's coming this Sunday, right to your front door. The world's biggest toy catalog from Toys R Us. Stuffed with $491 worth of coupons on the hottest toys of the season. Save $25 on Power Wheels Jeep Sandblaster, $10 on the Playskool Dollhouse, $5 on the Fisher-Price Radio Control Racer, and $3 on Mattel See-N-Say Story Maker. Plus more coupons for bikes and dolls and games. It's the biggest, fattest, weightiest toy catalog ever. And it's coming this Sunday from Toys R Us. Don't miss it! And if you're in the area, Drop in for a toy catalog at your Toys R Us store.
This portion of the news brought to you by Toys R Us.
The space shuttle Columbia is back on Earth, ending the longest ever shuttle mission in history. A perfect landing at Edwards Air Force Base in California this morning.
Touchdown.
The crew spending a record-setting 14 days in space performing gravity experiments. The 7 astronauts you'll see in a moment left the spacecraft on stretchers in order to continue their study on the effects of weightlessness.
Touchdown.
This was the second mission devoted solely to medical research.
This one they had all those rats on board, isn't it?
50. It started with
rats.
50, and I think they 2 of them died in an experiment, so
Right.
came back with 48.
No excuse tomorrow not to go out and vote, right?
Absolutely
You'll be
not.
all right.
After a lovely weekend.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh.
Right.
No, you don't blame.
Just as bad as you said it was going to be.
Anyhow, it's going to be nice for Election Day. This is going to be one of the great election days of all times in terms. Why are you staring at me? Anchorman has big influence here, but it's going to be very nice. Let's get outside, everybody. After a high temperature today of 50 degrees. You know, I'm new here. I get worried early. Art Banger with the shot. It is currently holding in the Midtown area. We do numbers at 39 degrees. Humidity 58%. Winds west 9. Today's high 50. Today's low was 38 degrees. And the bottom line to the weekend rain was it was good news in terms of rain amounts and up and over the reservoirs. Yes, it fell upwards of an inch or two. Plainview, Ralph Icantino, 1.86. And Ossining, that's Evan Gillespie, 1.19. Central Park, over an inch of rain. Chatham, New Jersey. Dr. Partridge, 1.40 inches of rain. And then city expected lows will get down to 33. Chatham down to 27. East Fishkill down to 25. Hempstead, Long Island. Hofstra University, one of Jack's favorite schools, 32 degrees. They're going to bottom out. Election Day. 1993. Sunny, temperatures right around 50 degrees, no wind. It will be absolutely ideal. Let's go to some more numbers. These are the observers. Lenny Simons, Plainview 37, Mike Sturm in New Milford 36, East Fishkill, that's John Schneider in at 35 degrees. Radar shows very little. A little bit of snow up and over the hills in New England. That is going, gone. Binghamton, 13 inches of the white stuff. Dry north, dry west, dry south, everything pinwheeling up and out. You see that dry slot. That's going to move in here in the next couple of hours, and here comes the sun. Quick changes, though. Leading edge of a cold front gets through here. That's going to be Wednesday night, early Thursday. Another cold front up and over Canada will set the stage for a cold weekend, but what I'd like you to know is it's going to be nice for the next couple of days. A flurry early, clearing, windy and cold, 32 to 37, north and west, 24 to 29. For tomorrow, we'll do the sun all day long. Azure blue skies. Azure blue skies. Temperatures will be in the low 50s. 5-day forecast goes like this. I think it's going to be nice. I think it's going to be gorgeous, actually, tomorrow. And Wednesday, in the partly sunny skies, we'll do the upper 50s. Maybe a shower late Wednesday into early Thursday. Friday and Saturday look very nice. Good. And a sneak peek at Sunday looks good also. But we shouldn't do 6-day forecast here, you know.
No, just tomorrow will be good. Just work on tomorrow.
One day at a time.
Yes. Forget about Madonna.
Okay.
Passé. Old Blue Eyes is all the rage now. Frank Sinatra comes out tomorrow with his first album in a decade. And as Mark Shearer reports, you don't have to be a Sinatra fan to enjoy it.
Start spreading the news. I am leaving today.
If he can make it here, he can make it anywhere. His new album of duets, that is. Thanks to fiber optic phone lines, Liza Minnelli never got this close to Frank Sinatra when she literally phoned in her half of one of 13 duets on the album. Sinatra recorded his tracks in an LA studio with a live band, and Gloria Estefan, for example, added her voice from her Miami studio.
That was the whole idea of a duet, you know, to make it sound like if we were there, but it's practically impossible to do when you're face-to-face singing in a studio because you can't read each other's minds. So the fiber optic link-up that we have in the studio was great.
While the Duets album is being compared to a high-tech karaoke festival, producer Phil Ramone says there's nothing artificial about the 77-year-old's ability to climb the scale.
And he said, what he calls his voice, the reed. He said, if the reed's in shape, I can go up there, you know.
In among Sinatra and Streisand, Sinatra and Iglesias, is Sinatra and Bono. U2 and the crooner, as it happens, are no strangers in the night.
U2 was in Las Vegas. Sinatra on stage says, ladies and gentlemen, the group number one, the cover of Time magazine. They stand up, and then he looks at them and he said, great, guys. Don't you think he could afford a better wardrobe?
Sinatra worship gets taken to the extreme on Chairman of the Board, where 41 alternative rock bands like Twitch and Screeching Weasel cover his classic songs. Proceeds from the alternative album go to pro-choice organizations. The artists who sang duets with Sinatra didn't get paid, but can put their songs on their own albums. A second round of duets is said to be in the works.
You know I'm gonna make it anywhere.
Mark Shearer, New York.
I want to see Twitch and Squeaking Weasel.
Yeah, Jerry says, I don't understand this album. Well, I'm not sure I do either.
And I'm not buying it right now.
Okay.
Wait for
What do you
reviews.
have coming up?
Coming up, Boomer Esiason will take us through the big drive that won the game against the Giants, and we'll talk to the sophomore on the Knicks who's on the rise. Bills and Redskins in Buffalo. Buffalo leads it 14-10 in the third quarter. Just about everybody is praying that Buffalo does not make it to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
In fact, even the Bills are hoping they don't make it. No, we can't take any more of this. But they do lead the Redskins 14-10 as they play in the third quarter in Buffalo. I don't want to throw cold water on the Jets' win. It was a nice win, but Bruce, first and goal at the 9, 2-yard run, 2-yard run, 2-yard run. Where are we creeping to here? Throw it into the end zone. Now, people think the Tillman fumble was the biggest play, but it was only possible because of Marvin Jones on the preceding play. Right guard Bob Cratch pulls. Here is Cratch. His man is Marvin Jones. If he makes the block, it's a touchdown. But Jones is too quick. He blows by Cratch, tracks down Tillman, and knocks him out at the 1. Without that play, there is no fumble on the next one.
To take Rob and Johnny away from us, and knowing that going in, we told Chris that he was going to be a big part of our third down package and he was going to have to win. And Chris responded with what I thought was, I wouldn't. He made big, crucial plays at crucial times in our game, and I really felt like he stepped up to the challenge we gave him.
Later in the drive, on a 1st and 20, Boomer hits Mitchell for 15 big ones to get them out of a hole.
I was fortunate enough to be able to hold it a little bit longer, to give Johnny a chance to clear the linebackers to the other side. On that particular play, it was just a question of keeping it low, throwing it hard, and making sure that he was the only one that could catch the ball.
Then on a...
It was a play that we put in on Friday. We saw something again in their coverages in that part of the field, and we took advantage of it.
Baxter then took it in for the touchdown that turned out to be the winner. But the defense still had to seal it. The Giants, 1st and goal at the 7, time running out. Sims to make it, but Mo Lewis stuffs it for a loss. And here, with 30 seconds left and the Giants at the 11, Marvin Washington overpowers Jumbo Elliott, which forced
it all, at the end of the week that we wanted him more, and you saw at the end of the game, all the elation that how much we wanted it, by everybody's excitement.
I'll tell you, James, get ready for Miami on Sunday. In case you haven't watched them recently, their defense has been awesome. This team is on a super level right now. Pretty much the same roster for the Knicks 4 days before the opener, but there's been a promotion. Second-year man Hubert Davis has moved ahead of Rolando Blackman at shooting guard. Off-season work paid off.
I did a lot. I went to Summer League here up in Westchester. I went out to San Diego and worked with the strength coach, and went back to Carolina where it all started, and worked real hard then.
Did you find out that you needed strength in the NBA?
Oh, very much so. I found that out the first minute. The guys are so much stronger, so much quicker. You need every edge that you can get, and I'm trying to work on my body every day.
Toughest guy you faced so far in the NBA?
Joe Dumars.
I told this guy it was Bill Walton. Sure enough, he bit. Usually about 1 in 20 will do that. There's been a NBA trade, McKee and Patio from Seattle to Indiana for Detlef Schrempf. Good trade for Seattle. At the offices of the Cincinnati Reds today, a familiar face. The owner, Marge Schott, back from suspension for racial slurs, walked right into a ceremony.
Well, hello, Margie. It's so nice to have you back where you belong.
This is overwhelming. Most people don't like their bosses, but this is overwhelming, and it's very touching. And
Marge, is Davey Johnson your manager, 94?
Yeah, we really do appreciate you coming.
That's why she was suspended. Every question was answered with, "We appreciate you coming." And so she was out for 8 months.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Finally tonight, Fashion Avenue has moved to 6th Avenue to house the spring fashion shows. But this year, the fashion crowd resembles a bunch of happy campers, as Jeannie Most reports.
This may look like the big top, but under it, tops were anything but big. And the most obvious kind of button was belly. It's Fashion Week again in New York. Time for the spring fashion shows. There's the usual crowd waiting to get in.
Press or retail?
And members of the press pressed up against each other.
Let's move it back, everybody.
The tents are a treat, though their designer doesn't like to call them tents.
Well, they're really tensile structures, and I prefer actually to call them buildings.
Call them buildings, call them tensile structures. People go to fashion shows, call them a godsend. We're doing a story on the tent.
I think it's a fabulous idea. It's a little bit cold, you know. Poor girls, their hands are freezing cold, you know.
But Ivana Trump knows the tents could take some of the chill out of the American fashion industry. For the first time, more than 40 designers are showing at the same location, Bryant Park on New York's 42nd Street.
We're trying to unify the American fashion design community and give these very talented designers the same platform that their colleagues have in Milan and in Paris.
In Europe, designers taking turns showing in centrally located tents is old news. But in New York, press and buyers have had to race from show to show.
The cabs and running around, and they up downtown all around, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Now, for anywhere from $10,000 to $24,000, designers can rent a tent. So what if it's not the plaza? Though this may be a fashion crowd, the tents are polyester. Jeannie Most, New York.
And dangerous. That's Channel 11 News for this Monday. I'm Kaity, Tong.
I'm Jack Cafferty. Thanks for being with us. Join us again tomorrow night for complete election results beginning at 10 o'clock. Cheers is next. Good night, everybody.